I can't live.
Today we're just going to look at a kind of progression to getting a muscle up. So if you've been doing pull-ups for a while and you're just looking to kind of get your first muscle up, this is just a tutorial on kind of the steps you should kind of go through before you kind of attempt the muscle up and eventually perfect the muscle up. So the first thing you'd want to be able to do before you actually go into doing a muscle up is you have to be able to do at least 10 strict pull-ups. So strict pull-ups look like this. So no kind of kipping, no swinging, no momentum. So that basically kind of gives you an idea of how strong you are, because although the muscle up requires an awful lot of technique, strength does play a huge part in it. So if you can do 10 strict pull-ups, you're definitely on your way to starting your kind of progression to the muscle up. So once you're able to do 10 strict pull-ups, the next thing you want to start practicing is the high pull. So basically with the muscle up, you have to try and get your torso as close and as high to the bar as possible. So I'll give you an example of what a high pull looks like. So normal muscle up, usually you're looking to just go to your neck, but a high pull, you're looking to basically try and pull as far as your belly button. So it's a muscle up. So it's a pull up, but just as high as you can. So as you can see, the legs kind of start playing a role when you start doing high pull. So you're kind of using a bit of momentum and really try and pull. It's almost as if you're pulling the bar to your belly button. So you want to kind of get really efficient at that. And that requires, again, another kind of level of strength to be able to do those. And again, you want to be able to string about 8 to 10 of those before you kind of move on to the next progression. So high pulls are just great in general. If you've kind of exhausted your pull-ups and you've come to like your max pull-ups, high pulls are great to get to work in there as well. So the next progression then after a high pull is to work on the swing technique. So basically with the muscle up is the momentum or the kind of swing that your body does is really important. So that's got to do with timing, so you kind of have to work on that technique. I'll just show you what that looks like. So just normal pull-up position. And that's all the swing looks like. So basically it's you're in this position and you just want to push your torso and your head slightly past your shoulders and back, and just practicing that motion of just slightly extending your head past your shoulders while you kind of get the timing of your body moving in and out. So that'll be the next progression to work on that. It's very simple. Just it's very timing. You can start to incorporate your legs into it as well. Head goes past the shoulders, legs come back. Very important. So as soon as your head goes past your shoulders, your legs are kind of swinging back, and you're repeating that movement. So that would be the next progression into the muscle up. And once you've got the swing down, you can actually start practicing the muscle up itself. So what I usually like to do after that is, so you'd get a stool. It could be slightly higher than this depending on how strong you are. And basically we're going to work on the top part of the muscle up, which is basically getting your chest above and in front of the bar and kind of doing a dip. That's the position we're going to work on. So I'm a little too close to the bar now. So a muscle up is it's a really explosive movement. So you're trying to do it as fast and as powerful as possible. A lot of people make the mistake where they try and kind of do control. It can be controlled, but at the same time it has to be very explosive. So this kind of helps with that, because when you're off the ground, the gap between the bar and your chest is shortened. So that's why this exercise is important. And so basically, you kind of work, not really focus too much on the leg swing at the moment, but it's literally incorporating the high pull into the kind of transition. That's what we're going to work on. So pulling as high as possible and then transition. So it looks like this. And then pressing out at the top and then coming right back down. I'll do a couple. So set yourself up, focus on that high pull towards the belly button, and you really want to, it's just a lot of wrist action, so you want to work the wrist as fast as possible, to turn the hands as fast as possible. So then you kind of start learning the timing and the kind of feeling you're going to get when you do the actual muscle up. So I'm going to show it again. Breath. And up. Just one more. Again, it's important that you try and pull as high as possible, because if you pull as high as possible, then the turnover becomes very, very simple. Whereas if you don't pull, if you only pull to about here, then the turnover is really, really challenging to kind of get your chest and your torso over the bar. So that's why this exercise is great. So the pull and the transition are the two most important things during this. So one more time. So high pull, transition, turn the wrists and up and back down. And that's the next progression. So you want to get really, really, really proficient at that and really, really good at that before you move on to the next transition, which is using a band. No. So it's basically, the band does the same job. It's like an assisted pull-up. It just gives you that little bit of extra momentum, and so that you can get as high as possible, and it just makes the whole movement slightly easier. So that's good. Oh. 2 feet in there. And these bands are actually very, very strong. So again, the most important things to focus on when you get to this stage again is a really, really strong high pull, and by now you should have kind of got the kind of momentum or kind of the swing into the muscle up. But I'll talk about that. I'll talk more about that in a few seconds. But again, even if you can't actually get the transition when you're using this band, you could always practice this with when you're doing the high pulls as well, just to get really, really high above the bar, because it makes the transition, the turnover, an awful lot easier. So same thing, you set up. So the biggest difference when I'm using the band is your muscle up it kind of takes out the leg swing momentum. It's kind of like a strict pull up, but the band kind of propels you upwards. So that's why I like to incorporate the band in there. So once you're able to do a muscle up with a band, you can get a stronger bands indeed. That'll give you more momentum and more push. If you've got that, that's great. But if you haven't, if you're still struggling, another great exercise is to get a really, really good high bench. And so if you've got your high pull and you're strong enough and you're finding the transition really, really tough, so you gotta get a high bench. Not too close. So this is great. This kind of this assisted exercise helps you with the kind of wrist action and the transition over. It just teaches you kind of that movement. So basically, you can see that your chest is way closer to the bar. So what I typically like to tell people is you're still kind of focusing on pulling as high as possible, but it's a quick transition. So it's a pull and a turn. So it's basically you get ready, set yourself up again. So turn and press. Pull and turn. So we're really working this kind of this turning motion, which we're going to do during the full pull-up. This wrist action is really important. Just do one more example.
It's also very important to lock on at the very top of the movement with your elbows.
And yeah, so that kind of gets you the upper portion of the movement. And then the next thing is and kind of a more important aspect of technique is what your legs actually do. So what I was taught was the higher you can bring your legs when you're in the swing phase, the easier it is to transition over and to get your chest above the bar. I'll give you an example. So a strict pull-up, like I was saying, looks like this. And you can see my legs automatically rise there. But I'm going to over-exaggerate now to really emphasize the importance of trying to bring your legs as high as possible when you're doing the muscle up. And you can see the higher you bring your legs, the motion becomes very fluid, and really the transition becomes so much easier because you've got such a lovely high pull, and by the time you're over the bar, it's basically just tilting your body weight forward, and so the leg part becomes very important when you're trying to kind of string one or two muscle ups together. And so if you've worked through all those transition phases step by step, and make sure you're able to do maybe 10 perfect reps at each stage before you move on to the next one, then you can attempt the full muscle up. So again, we set up as normally like we're doing it. You can go slightly, I like to go slightly wider for my muscle ups. Things to work on: high pull as fast as possible. The timing of when you actually transition over is also very important. So the more you, if you go through the transitions that I went through, you'll start to kind of pick up on the timing of when you should be kind of transitioning over and what your legs are doing at the same time. So I'll just string a couple together and then I'll talk about kind of key factors and key things to look at as you progress through. So the most important thing that I even noticed myself there is really focusing on when you're coming down to kind of, when your momentum brings you back down, to really focus on getting that head slightly past your shoulders as the legs kick back, and then as you come back out, you're really focusing on pressing that high pull up and then the transition over. And that's pretty much the kind of steps that I kind of took to learn the muscle. It takes time though. It takes a couple of weeks, depending on where your strength level is at, to kind of get the timing and the rhythm. Once you have the strength, it's basically it's all technique. It's getting the swing right, knowing when to transition when you're up a certain height. But yeah, those those assisted exercises should definitely help in hopefully getting your first muscle up, and obviously as you practice you'd get more fluid and then being able to string maybe a set of 10, set of 5, set of 10, set of 15. So that's definitely yeah, it's a great exercise, really explosive exercise to do, and it's a fun one to do as well. So I hope the tutorial was enlightening, and yeah, the best thing to do is to get out there and start practicing, and that's the best way it's going to get done. So I hope you guys enjoyed it.